And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Every Point's a Winner, here for episode 32 and the completion of round 17. We're going to go over the review, have a little discussion about hamstrings, injuries, and what have you at the end of the program. There's a lot of hamstrings pulled over the weekend and some very vital positions that will be missing over the next 6 or 7 rounds. We're going to start off also with our successful selections, and these were the dividends that we gave you here on EPOR during the preview. I'm just going to run down the list here from the TAB. We had AJ Brimson. As I said to you, half your bets for any rain, and the rain had come to the Gold Coast match. Surprisingly, the handling was fantastic. So the ground wasn't as choppy as what we thought. It was just very light, sleety rain, but sometimes that can play havoc. So we got AJ Brimson up, but we only had five units on AJ Brimson, but he was $2.30. Unfortunately, I think we didn't get any doubles in that game. Our fourth, fifth, and sixth selections all scored, including Sami, Scott Drinkwater, Jeremiah Nanai, and there was one other fellow, of course. It was Bo Fermor. So that killed us because we had all the legs except AJ Brimson into him, because AJ Brimson was the third selection. But in any case, we got a little bit of a trickle of money back and we didn't outlay all our bets, which would have been the best thing to do. The game previous to that, we got an $8.50 double, and it was a pretty easy one for mine. It was Elise Katala. He went over in the 5th minute, and Jerome Hughes put the value into that double, and we got $26 off that double. And as I said, I'm only having these doubles for $1.50, $2, $2.50 maximum. Elise Qatar got a nice collect there for us. 8 units on the win at $2.75. He was good value, and Jerome Hughes put the value in there at $3.25. Then the Saturday game, we didn't get enough doubles. We were so close. One of the North Queensland tries, Dearden broke through. We had Dearden and Purdue as the first and second banker, and he's looked inside. He saw Purdue, or he's looked outside, and he's quickly looked inside, and he saw Scott Drinkwater. Instead of going to Purdue, who's got amazing speed, he went with Scott Drinkwater, who's already scored and got a double. So that was a little bit unlucky for us when I watched the replays over the last day or so. But that was a good double we got. That was a 23-1 double. So people, if you want to get some money following EPOR, Every Point's a Winner, and our tips here, Scotty and myself, you'll actually pick up some nice dividends there. $1.50 at 23-1 gives you $35 units back. And the double was Cody Nikarima, who had an unfortunate injury and is going to be out for a while, another hamstring. And Tallis Duncan, he was the value there. We also had a small wager on Tallis Duncan, and he was 4-1. And Tallis Duncan went over twice. I don't know what I was paying for going over twice, but that would have been a flukish result for you. But yeah, so we picked up a nice 26 units there, or $26. Cody Nikarima, we had a nice $8 unit on him at $3.50, gave us our 28. So that was probably our most successful game on the weekend. As I said, we had Cody Nikarima as the main banker, and we had so many different doubles with him, including I was that close to putting Avarillo in. We had Herbie Farnworth. There was a bit where one of the kicks over the line went towards Herbie, but racing through was Hammer to score his 3rd or 4th try. I think it might have been his 4th try, and it just missed being a try to Herbie Farnworth. who would have given us 2 trebles with the Avarillo one and 2 doubles with Cody Nicarima and Tellis Duncan. So that was most unfortunate. But who else did we have on the weekend? We had Lika Halasima. He's been so good to us here on EPAW. 5-1 off the bench. Yes, that's the risk you're taking. And we had 5 units on him to pick up an easy $25 there. Katoni Staggs for the Brisbane Broncos. He went over pretty much straight away, and he was good odds at 250. We only give you value here at EPAW, and our win stake was 850 unit there, which gave us 21 units return. Ethan Strange looked like scoring twice in that Canberra match. He got us. That was our only collect from that game, unfortunately. Lucky he did. He brought us back 25 units for $2.75. Tolotau Cola, the Manly game. When I heard the weather was going to be really slippery ball handling, and West Tigers had lost Jerome Buller and Jerome. Oh, what the hell's his name? Anyway, they've lost the halfback. Jerome Luai, sorry, and Jareem Buller. It's very easy to get confused, but once you lose your main part of your spine, your fullback and your halfback, they had next to no chance of winning that game at Four Pines Park. And I tell you, Manly got a lot of decisions go their way and momentum. It took a long time to turn around, but Stafford Tale was our main standout and didn't go over, unfortunately. So Tolotau Cola at least brought 25 units back to the bank. So it wasn't a total disaster there, but we didn't quite get enough doubles. And stupid me there, I didn't put Tolotau Cola into Ben Travojevic, who went over in the 75th minute, which would have given us a really good double and put us in front for the weekend. As it was, a lot of those games I half knowing there was going to be bad weather. Now, unfortunately, over the next 3 days, we're having more bad weather being predicted. So be careful with that. I always half my outlay, and that seems to work for me because if I go hardcore and put the full amounts down, I tend to really get toasted. The worst game for us on the weekend, and typical, we had from the bench, we had Jacob Little. And every time I had him with Valentine Holmes in the past, him and Holmes would disappear and Christian Tuapolotta would go over. But I think Tuapolotta was another late withdrawal in the warm-up. So that there was one of our players that went missing. But Little and Valentine Holmes has killed me, including, as you know, people who listen to my tips, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we actually stood out the coach's son to go over, and at good odds of $3.75, and he went over this time. We didn't have him, and then there was a rookie winger and another rookie winger on the other side that went over the field in for Tuapolotta. Congratulations to those rookie winners, but it's hard to put them in the anytime try score, and they're pretty low on value. So my idea for St George matches now, because there's such an inconsistent side, is either don't play that game, depending on who they're playing, of course. You can always make value from the other side, from the opposition. But I'll be treading with fairy light footsteps. I really thought that Parramatta's, and here's another way to lose your money, Parramatta's Jack Williams was moved from the fringe, from the 8 role, playing the lock. They moved him to the centre just to do hardcore defence, and he didn't get the ball enough on the edge like a Nakora or Elisa Katoa, who was a superstar for our anytime try scorers. Elise Katoa was the other banker. We got up within the first 4 or 5 minutes, and he went over and gave the ball to Jerome Hughes, and we were a little bit unlucky there because we chucked in Anderson and Pappenhausen. I can't catch Pappenhausen. And if you let him go, he'll score a triple or four tries. But anyway, that we'll get to that game in a minute. But let's go to the really important things. That was important that where, and we only just finished a few dollars down for this weekend, specifically because I halved the bets and that St George game. I had a clean slate in the St George game. So that was my fault. I was very confident and I had a CR rating of 80. So I paid the price on that one. And I should have known that mistake was putting Dylan Brown to go over without Moses. He will score when Moses is there. He may have scored once when Moses wasn't there, but it takes a lot of he takes a lot of the leadership around the middle there, and he just didn't have the opportunity to score. And Williams just didn't get the ball like he usually did because he changed his position. Anyway, it is what it is, and we only finished a few dollars down last week, so we virtually, I wrote it down in the little book as broke square. And we were lucky because some of those try scorers were 70 minutes try scorers. And I'm just going, no, don't do this. But then you can get that lucky one like we did with Cattell was having a blinder, set up 2 tries and scored one himself. And basically the double was solidified before half time, and we're just waiting for really nice trebles in that game, but they didn't come off. Anyway, let's get into the stats while we're all here analysing this. I'll just close the TAB one and Joey Diaz. And let's look at the first match, 8-6. This was a game, as I said, that was going to draw the line in the sand for this competition. And if you don't think Panthers have got a finals chance, then you're kidding yourself. 8-6, the final result was over the Bulldogs. Bulldogs scored a great try through one of our standout bankers in Jacob Preston. He was about our third legger. So he wasn't our main banker, but he was one of our leggers. Unfortunately, we didn't have Nathan Cleary. I mean, for God's sake, there was 2. This is not a good game for anytime try scorers. And that's what we do here on EPOR. So that game was not conducive to many tries. One to the skipper and one to Jacob Preston. So we were done as a dinner. Luckily, Preston gave us a nice 3-1. Anyway, just looking at the halftime there, it was 6-2 to Canterbury. Penalty goals, there was 1 out of 2 that was converted there by Cleary. And let's go to the team stats because that's really important as well. Just have a quick look before we go over there who the most tackles were. Mitch Kenny, there you go. I've told you about Kenny being the best defender in the game for a long, long while. He's a part of that impenetrable fortress that Penrith have. 64 tackles. Unbelievable. 44 to the young kid who scored, Jacob Preston. Everyone's highly impressed with Jacob. Most run meters, 298 to Dylan Edwards, 217 to Jacob Kiraz. Probably played a little bit better on the wing than what he did the week before in the centre. He's hard to catch. Marcelo Montoya, most line breaks, along with Dylan Edwards, 1. But let's go to the team stats and see where Canterbury may have lost this game. Team stats. So possession in attack here, 86% to Penrith. That's a big difference. And only 72 to Canterbury. All runs meters, probably a lot more there, 300 more metres for Canterbury. Post-contact meters, 644 for Canterbury and 516 for Penrith. Now, you've got to understand, yes, that was a try from the charge down, but I was talking to Peter Connis about it. One of our tips is in the Monster Cup and champion Phantom of the Opera House. Head of security there, I believe. And he was saying, God, Penrith couldn't even score a normal try. It had to be a charge down. It's still a try, though, so you've got to look at it that way. But yeah, it was not the greatest way to be beaten, that's for sure. Tackle breaks, 32 to Penrith, only 29 to fairly close, but 29 tackle breaks to Canterbury. Average set distance, 43 metres to Canterbury, fairly even, 37 to the Panthers. Kick return metres, a lot more, about 70 more metres there from the Panthers. Passing, offloads, fairly even. Receipts, fairly even. A little bit more receipts from Canterbury. Total passes, an extra 30 passes because they just couldn't find a way to get through the defence, so they kept on throwing it around, but not being that effective. Canterbury, that Mitch Kenny defence with the forwards, phenomenal. Also, kicks 27 to 24 to Panthers there. That's all you really need to know. But there's a few that you might like to know that it was Canterbury 32 tackles missed and 29 missed tackles for the Panthers. Tackles made, 446 to Panthers and 408 to Canterbury. So Panthers just shows their fitness there. Ineffective tackles, 27 to both sides. Negative play, 11 to 10 Canterbury. Not much else there. Penalties conceded, a lot more from Canterbury, and they put themselves under a lot of pressure. So on that note, Bulldogs have now worked out where they are in the comp, and they've now relinquished the lead to Canberra, I believe. But we'll have a look at that before we go. We will move on to the next match. I think the next coming round is just before the Origin. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be having Scott Pearce-McLeod here. We'll be calling the third game live. Join us here. I think we had up to 166 viewers during that broadcast, and we'll be calling straight from free-to-air TV, which is about 7 metres away. Sometimes I'll be able to grab my binoculars and have a look. Most of the time, we can see what's going on, but if the camera changes, we have no control over that. And so we're just calling straight from our papers, memory, and vision. And the vision was so hard last time when Crichton went over. Of course, I made that fundamental error saying that it was Hudson Young, and they're identical in body, moustache, haircut. It just killed us. And it killed me because we missed out on a really good try scorer there. But I also had the wrong information because I couldn't get to the NRL who'd scored the try. Had issues, technical issues that night. But anyway, it's great news that Scotty's coming on board. So that will be Wednesday week. Let's have a look here. This round will be split, but we're just going over the previous round. The next game was Sea Eagles. It was a bit of a dour effort here at 4 Pines Park, and losing Luai before the kickoff was a death knell. I tipped, as you know, Tigers, and I just halved my bets, and at least we got Tolotau Cola. But it was typical that Ruben Garrick went over, and Ben Travojevic, I didn't place that double on. I just had the two win bets on the standouts, and so you would have collected there had you followed the tips. But it was a real dour affair, 28 to 10. At some stage, it looked like Tigers were going to get into the match, but then I think it was just a matter of Manly taking their foot off the accelerator. I'm still not convinced by Manly. They've got the players, but they lost one of their best forwards in Olakau'atu to that dislocated shoulder. We still don't know how long he's going to be out for. But let's have a look at the top performers for that game at 4 Pines Park at the old Brookvale Oval. Jake Travojevic, 45 tackles. He is a work animal. And Terrell May, yet again, another great defender, 50 from him. Let's line breaks, 1 to Adam Dewey. Played pretty good, Adam Dewey. So many players are missing from the Tigers. It's very difficult for them. Ruben Garrick, 2 breaks from him. Let's go to the team stats and see if we can really see where this game was lost. There was only 18 points in at the end there. But as I gave you the margins, that's the hard thing. If you're going to play and you're going to gamble and gamble responsibly, you have to realise that 1 or 2 players missing from any side, especially one that organises the play like Jerome Luai. It's not Jerome. Anyway, Luai. You've got to understand that changes the margins as well. You would automatically think, oh, Manly 13 plus, but if you've already put your bets on, you're buggered. So anyway, it is what it is. So we don't know how long Luai's going to be out for, but he may be sidelined for a while. We'll go over the injuries later on and we'll have a look at that list. There were so many over the weekend. And the biggest shame for mine was Nicarima. 2 players that the halfbacks have been playing outstanding all year, and also the Auckland Warriors, Luke Metcalf. That was horrendous. He got hit with a really heavy tackle from Brendan Teokora, and that really finished him off. It wasn't because of the tackle, mind you. It was the way he landed and his knee twisted, the one that was already taped up. So that's a big blow to the Warriors campaign, if you ask me. All right, let's have a look at the possession rate here with the team stats for this game. It was 80%, both sides there, 81-80. All runs meters, a lot more to Manly, so they were throwing the ball around a lot as well. Tackle breaks, 30 to Manly and only 25 to the Tigers. Average set distance, 36 metres Manly and only 31 Tigers, so ineffective there from the Tigers. Kick return metres, 204 to Manly and only 88 to the Tigers. That's not good, Tigers. There's Benji Marshall, hopefully he's got all his men on these stats because that's awful. Let's have a look here. The offloads, 5 from Manly and only a little bit more, 7 for the Tigers. Kicking metres there. Ruben Garrick, 411. And Dale Cherry, 738, a lot more from the Tigers there. Kick returns, defusal, 50-50 for both of them. Grubbers and bombs, fairly similar. Nothing else there. The negative play is interesting. 14 negative plays for Manly. So they're not playing to that score should have and could have been a lot more, but the defence was fairly solid from the Tigers under the dire circumstances of losing their most of their spine. And it was 8, was it? 8 errors to the Tigers there. And that was negative play. Penalties conceded a little bit more. Of course, at Pines Park, you're going to cop it, but 7 penalties to 5 there for Tigers. Ruck infringements, 4-2 for the Tigers. And looking at anything else there, wow, there was 2 head injury assessments for the Tigers. So it's a wonder they weren't beaten by 40 or 50 there. It really was. They did amazingly well to hold Manly out for as long as they could, but Manly, with these negative plays, weren't very good. And they just cruised across the line. I think they're going to have to lift if they want to stay up in the 8 or compete to stay in the 8 for the playoff. They're going to have to do better than that, and because they're not always going to get all the advantage playing away from 4 Pines Park, but they seem to play there a hell of a lot. I don't know what you think about that. The next game was heartbreaking for injuries again, ladies and gentlemen. It was Knights and Canberra, and James Schiller went over twice. As I said, he's an outstanding kid, this guy. He does a lot of mistakes, but this is where you're going to learn in first grade. This is where you really learn. The other try scorer for Newcastle in their 18 points was Jermaine McEwen. Well, I wouldn't have had him if you gave me money because he was a replacement reserve, and I don't think he'd scored before, not that I know, in the top league. So going across to Canberra there, Semi Sasagi. Oh, I was entertaining Sasagi, but I didn't know how much time he would get. But he went over in the 15th minute, KO Weeks, and luckily Ethan Strange in the 27th minute because he was our only collector. And that broken play or charge down, what have you, it came to Jed Stewart's hands and he went over. It was a fairly fundamental try there from Jed Stewart, so we didn't have him either. Kalen Palmer's injury, horrendous. So not only have you lost Fletcher Sharp to a damaged kidney or torn kidney, the guy was in intensive care in after that Perth match. And I felt so sorry for him because that's the end of his season, and he had a damaged spleen. Like that's dangerous too because you can bleed to death. So that was a really serious injury, according to sources. He landed on the ball the wrong way. We don't know the full details yet, but that is Newcastle's season gone, ladies and gentlemen. A Liz Frank injury to Kalen Palmer and nearly a ruptured inners there from kidney and spleen from Fletcher Sharp. Two of them outstanding players in your spine. Goodbye, Newcastle, for 2025. I still got to give it to them because they tried, the team that was remaining tried their hearts out. And particularly Palmer before he had his injury. Unfortunately, it definitely swayed in this match. So let's go and have a look at the team stats in a second once we have a look at the top tacklers here. Phoenix Crossland is really lifted over the last month, 55. Zach Hosking, 44. We had Zach. Unfortunately, he didn't go over the try line. We were really relying on him as one of our main bankers. Schiller, most run meters, 257. Great game. KO Weeks, great game as well, 293. Line breaks 4 to James Schiller. As I said, outstanding. And KO Weeks, 3 line breaks. Go to team stats here. And we have time and possession, both 30 minutes each, 54%. No, 50-50 for the right down there. Just having a look at the all runs meters, fairly similar, 1,960 each of them. Tackle breaks, 31 to the Knights, 39 for Canberra. They really started throwing it around, didn't they? And they're not leading the competition for as a fluke after this performance. It was fantastic. Solid and just did what they had to do. Kick return meters, 251 to Canberra, 151 to the Knights. That's not good. Pretty bad stats here. Offloads, 14 for Canberra, throwing it around like a hot potato, and only 6 for the Knights. Well, once you lose Sharp and a lot of attacking players, you're going to be pretty listless or rudderless. Receipts here, a little bit more there for the Knights. Total passes, 315 over 218 there of the Canberra Raiders. Dummy passes, 7-4 for Canberra. Let's have a look here. Any negative plays? Yep, tackles made here. It was 39% to, or 399, sorry, from the Knights, and 384 from Canberra. That's going to gas you, the Knights. Missed tackles, 39 Knights and 31 Canberra. Ineffective tackles, here's where Canberra won the game. 23 ineffective tackles from Knights and only 9 from Canberra. Big difference there. Put that down there. Mr. Newcastle coach. Errors here, 10 to 11, fairly similar. Not much else you need to know about that match, apart from Canberra did what they had to do. I thought some of their players were outstanding, including their forward pack, and just congratulations to them. Knights need to start looking forward now because of the horrible run they've had this year, and especially with injuries. Just try your best. Try and win it. Keep on giving the young players some experience, and keep your fingers crossed that some of the other players can come back from injury. But those two that are out for the season, for mine, is your season done and dusted. But you're getting paid. Play for your colours. Play for yourself. Play for all your fans. And the next game here, 26-12, Broncos up in Suncorp against the Warriors, and yet again another horrific injury and he's redone his ACL. It was Luke Metcalf. And in fact, although he wasn't our standout banker, he was one of our players, and it wasn't good. They had to keep on shuffling their players around. I think a couple of try scorers went over. Let's have a look here that we usually have. Gehamat Shibasaki, 2 tries again. We let him go last week, and he got another try last week, and we had him 2 games prior. He missed one, and he got one of our anytime try scorers for us. But since we let him go, he went over twice. But we did collect fairly well off this with that nice 23-1 double Katoni Stags into Lika Halasima at 5-1. That was fantastic. He's an outstanding player. I really look forward to talking about him in the future, Lika Halasima. He's been so good to us. Every time I've had him bar once, he's gone over at really good odds because he's used as a super subby. He's a bit like a Tyron Wishart, or Tyron Wishart. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck was the other try scorer, and Joshua Karapani on the wing for Brisbane, and opening up the count in the first or second minute. It was Katoni Stags. What a beautiful way to start our anytime try scorers main standout banker there, banker number 1. Fantastic. Let's have a look at the top tries tacklers here. The tacklers, Jordan Ricky, 38. That's outstanding. And James Fisher-Harris, we know he's a work dog, 38 also. Most run meters, Xavier Willison, he did have a big game. I thought he was going to score a few times. $168 and 173 for Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He's still amazing for his age, still ripped to shreds, still strong. And this try he scored, he had to show a lot of strength. And most line breaks, of course, Gerard Shibasaki, and 1 to Rocco Berry. Another thing missing your fullback as well in Charles Nickel-Klodstad. That's their season it isn't over because they got a great bench and they got a lot of good forwards to come up, but they've lost one of their main forwards. And he's gone for the season as well, is he not? It's awful that the injuries are just mounting up, especially hamstrings. We'll have a little talk before we finish up here tonight about that. But let's have a look at the team stats here. And it was completion rate, very, very clinical from Brisbane, 85%, 74 to Warriors, fairly good. All runs meters, another 200 metres there for the Broncos. Post-contact metres, 516. That's a lot more compared to the Warriors, 390. Wow. Line break 6-4 in favour of Broncos. Tackle breaks. This is worrying for the Warriors. 36 Bronco tackle breaks, only 17 from the Warriors. These stats are just glowing and shining like a bruise. Average set distance here, 36 metres. surprisingly, only 2 metres less than the Warriors there. Kick return meters, a lot more from Broncos running hard and fast and hungry, 154 to 136. Having a look here, kicking meters, forced dropouts, not really much standing out to us here. 5 bombs apiece each. A lot more grubbers from Adam Reynolds, no doubt about that. 4-1. He caused absolute grief with a lot of dropouts line dropouts from the Warriors there. Missed tackles, 299 Broncos, 369. I'm just shaking my head. 369 the Warriors. Missed tackles, 36 to the Warriors. They need to sharpen up after the origin period, and they really need to sharpen up if they're going to maintain that position in the top 5 or 6. Otherwise, they're going to keep on going down the top 8, and then they're in danger of missing it because they've had such a great year so far. But these injuries are just horrendous. Errors, negative play there, a little bit more to the Warriors, one more, 11 to 10. Penalties conceded, 8 to 5. Well, you're going to get that at Suncorp, aren't you? But a lot more ill discipline from the Warriors. Ruck infringements, 4 from Broncos, laying all over the play the ball. And that's about all we need to know there. Katoni Stagg's outstanding. He's consistently playing well now. Reynolds had another solid game. And Shibasaki, he's one of the future for sure. And just congratulations to the Broncos, moving solidly into the top 8 now, where they should be in the first place. They're starting to drift there for a while. And there was all these rumours and stories about the coach is no good. We're just wetting our whistle here. Make sure the vocal cords are nice and tanned. The next match, well, St George and Parramatta, the old grudge match, grand final replay, 77. Dragons 34. Let's have a look. And it was at Wynn Stadium, so we got that up. At what was it? But there was 14 plus. So I don't know whether we only stood St George out at 1 to 12 there, and Parramatta as the last resort to put 1 to 12, but we mainly stood St George out 1 to 12. But 13 plus. Only you crazy Dragon supporters would have tipped. A lot of Dragon supporters like Peter Connors didn't even tip them in the tipping competition and paid the price. Okay, let's have a look as we click on it. Tries to Nathan Lawson, 2 of them, mind you, and the first and the 13th. Corey Allen, 26, all these rookies. Congratulations. Kyle Flanagan, sale of the century. No, wrong answer. 29th minute, Valentine Haynes, 33rd and 75th. Valentine Haynes, bugger. You bugger. I can't catch you, mate. I've even had you in State of Origin. No good. Josh Adokar, yes, we had him, but we didn't have any linked bank. They were the bottom of our pile. Zach Lomax, Dean Hawkins, and Kelma Tuolangi. No, we didn't have them for Parramatta. As I said, we had Dylan Brown, who didn't show up across the line, and Jack Williams, who they moved to more of a centre forward position, and it's not his style. So the coach deserves a loss there for mine. You keep on changing players that have excelled the weeks before, and you're going to get egg on your face. Yeah, you've got to do it for injuries sometimes, but you really need to know the strengths of your players. So let's have a look at the team stats there for this game. Okay, and it was possession, 53% to 47. 53 for Parramatta, surprisingly. Time in possession, 28 to 24 minutes to Parramatta. What else do we need to know here? Line break 6 to Parramatta, 5 to St George. But St George held the ball quite well, in fact. Completion rate 82%, but even more so, Parramatta 85%. There you go. Average set distance, pretty much the same, 42 metres. Kick return metres, fairly even, maybe 2 metres difference there. And what else is really standing out here? Dummy passes is interesting, 10 to 8 for St George. Total passes, 259 from Parramatta and 216, but they couldn't cross. Well, they couldn't cross as many times. Offloads, a few more from Parramatta. There has to be something that's standing out here that's probably going to come from the defence, but that's fairly even. St George, 346. They had to do 10 more tackles than Parramatta. Missed tackles, 30 to Parramatta, 36 to St George. So but here we go. They're ineffective tackles. Go to St George, 28 ineffective tackles and 14 half for Parramatta. So you're thinking, how the hell was it 14 or 13 plus? Anyway, what else here? Conceded penalties, 7-6 to St George. You really have to watch that match over and over again. I think they just gelled, and they were a lot more hungrier than Parramatta. And Dylan Brown didn't have one of his greatest matches. I felt they had a few decisions go against them, being down in the gong, but no excuse there for Parramatta. They had an opportunity to win, but St George did what they had to do. I can't see St George being a major threat, and even if they got to the playoffs this year, I can't see them doing much. I really can't. Unless you leave a message for me and tell me why you think St George is going to either win the comp or do really well in the playoffs. I'm befuddled by that, even by that thought. So anyway, let's move on to the next match before we get laboured down in there. And it was the Dolphins and Rabbitohs. Dolphins 50 and Rabbitohs 28. Wow, 78 points scored in the match. And Marshall King went over. He's always lethal. The hammer went over 4 times. Greedy. We need a few try scorers, thank you very much. Kurt Donahue in the 72nd. Jake Averillo in the 34th. We had him in a cross combo, unfortunately. Jack Whiten, I chucked him in there with a dollar 4-leg parlay, but we only had him with Cody Nicarima, Jake Averillo, Whiten, but we missed the 4th leg, and that wasn't good. That was like a little side bet that I had. Tallis Duncan went over twice. Thank God, because he got us that nice Cody Nicarima double and a nice win bet on him. David Mawali was the second last try scorer before Donahue's runaway try. So let's have a look at the team's player stats there. Most tackles 47 to Jeremy Marshall King and Tallis Duncan 46. The two young giants there, really well done. Most run meters, of course, was Habasai Tabuai for Doe, 264 over Tyron Munro, 164. Didn't have one of his greatest games, Tyron Munro. A lot of the South players didn't. Whiten played outstanding again. So did Tallis Duncan. And it just wasn't there. I tipped them. I tipped South, but I think that'll be the last time I'm tipping South this year up against the side that can score from anywhere in the park. That was one of my bad decisions of that game, though we did really favour. Luckily, we favoured standing out and leading with the Dolphins with Cody Nicarima. Now, unfortunately, we don't know how long his hamstring will keep him out for. I'm praying that he comes back for the playoffs or the finals, providing they're in there. I think they will be. They've scored a lot of points on for and against. But we'll have a look at that a little bit later. So let's go to the team stats, see if we can see how many mistakes South did or what have you, to point out some pointers here for you South fans. What happened outside what you witnessed, what was important. Dummy passes 17-9 to the Dolphins, had them totally befuddled. Total passes fairly similar there. Receipts fairly similar. Possession, here we go. Attack, 84% St George, only 70. Sorry, Dolphins, only 72% for South. All runs meters here, 2,009 for the Dolphins and 1,600 only for South. Post contact meters, 591 for Dolphins, only 507 for South. Line breaks 7-6, fairly even to South. Tackle breaks 34 for the Dolphins and only 31 for South. Average set distance 45 metres there for the Dolphins and only 41 for South. Kick return metres, about 30 more metres there for the Dolphins. And that's all we really need to know up until we get to the vital thing, which is the defence. Let's have a look here. Defence. 86% effective tackles from the Dolphins, 89% for South. Tackles made, here's the stat that you need to know. So you can't hold the ball and you can't keep the ball in play or keep the opposition down inside their own red zone, then this will happen to you. 318 tackles made for Dolphins, 356, a lot more for South needed there. Missed tackles 34 to South and only 31 for Dolphins. Intercepts 1 for the Dolphins, and that was Kurt Donahue, was it not? Ineffective tackles, surprisingly, 21 ineffective tackles to Dolphins and 8 to South. So that's really interesting. But here's the thing why South had to do so much tackling. 14 errors and negative plays and led to drop balls there over 7. That's a game changer. 14 errors and negative plays against only 7, half for the Dolphins. There you go. There's your stat you really need to know. Ruck infringements 3-2 Dolphins. That's about it. They virtually used all the interchange except one shorter of the Dolphins there. So let's go to the last match before we wrap it up. And it's the second last match. We've still got one to go. Don't forget, Roosters had the bye. I think they're playing this week in the shortened round. So let's knock over this as far quickly as we can. Elise Qatar scoring in the 5th minute. Fa'alago, he's another one that's done the hamstring. Horrendous. And he had such a brilliant game, setting up a try as well. Katoa, mate, got my 3 points for player of the match. Probably the player of the month. He's always been amazing. And he's one of our most successful anytime try scorers here. Just a great fringe forward. One of the best. Jerome Hughes, 72nd minute. Yeah. Trent Liero, we've had him a few times in the 78th. Braden Trindle killed me. Can you believe it? You know we had him last week. We had Braden Trindle last week in that Cronulla game. So when he went over, I just go, oh, no. He was just there in the right place. There was a bomb. There was a lost ball. It went into his hands and he scored. So it could have been anyone. Cronulla were very, very disappointing. But Dan and Amy, they'll make a lot of sides look disappointing. There was parts of the game they tried, but there's something missing in the Cronulla side, and I can't put my finger on it. I really can't. I need to work it out. It's something with the setup between that wing to that wing. There's something could be in the middle, could be the centres. There's just something not right. But anyway, I'm sure we'll work that out over the next couple of weeks. Let's go to the players' stats here. And Harry Grant outstanding, 46 tackles again. Blake Brayley outstanding in defence. Didn't have the greatest game in attack. He tried to run a few times, but they really had him hammered up. 46 as well. Tackles. Most run meters, Fa'alogo, of course, with those two incredible breaks, 223 meters, and Talakai 147. There was one part where we did have one of our main bankers, Talakai. I think he was our third standout because we led with Hughes and Katoa, and Talakai gets the ball in his hands, bounced off the upright, lands in his hands, and he drops it. The line was wide open. He just had to catch it, fall over the line. That would have been a treble and two more doubles. Anyway, it is what it is. And, you've got to be in it to win it, but you really, sometimes the luck doesn't go your way, and it didn't go Talakai's way there, nor our way. So that's about it there, apart from the team stats. We'll quickly go through them now. We might find some real leaks in the Cronulla's defence here, I reckon. So let's have a look here. Kick return meters, 229 to the Melbourne Storm, only 111. That's awful from Cronulla. 79% completion rate. Against Melbourne down there in Melbourne, 89%. They're really playing like the typical top four side that they've been over the last decade or so, Melbourne. All runs meters, as you know, another 500 more runs meters there. Tackle breaks, 21 to Cronulla, 26 to Melbourne. Kick return meters, as I said, was double. Offloads, fairly even. Receipts, a lot more receipts there from Melbourne. They just handled the ball so well. Kicks, 34 to 23. Kicking game was off for Cronulla for mine. Kicking meters fairly even. 3 forced dropouts, so they did put pressure on Melbourne, but they didn't bust, did they? Not at 30 points to 6. Let's have a look at defence here. This may tell us a tale. 91% effective tackles from both of them. Missed tackles, 26 to Cronulla and only 21 to Melbourne. There you go. Ineffective tackles, 12 to both sides. Negative plays, here we go, 11 to Cronulla and only 8 to Melbourne. Penalties conceded fairly even, and ruck infringements, real bad discipline from Cronulla there. They were just the better side. The class shone through, and if anyone tipped Cronulla then, you must have tipped them the week before when they got run down. They've got something missing in that side. They've even had emergency meetings with their coach, with the players. So I don't know what's going on there down at Shark Park, but I give them next to no chance if they're not going to pick up over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Yes, they're missing Kale Hero from that injury again, but I truly think they're missing something that I can't quite put my finger on. If you know, leave a comment, like and subscribe while you're there, and share these great tips that I gave you at the start of this program. Okay, let's move into the next match here. There's quite a few stats that went against Cronulla there, and this will be the last one we're covering for today, and it is Titans and Cowboys. As I said, we just missed the Jackson Purdue try. Instead of going to Purdue, he went the other side to Drinkwater, and that would have been a really good result for us. But yet again, we halved our bets, and we didn't get punished too badly. But all the ones we had for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth leg, they were the guys who scored, including Bo Fermor, Jojo Fafita, Sami, who I gave these last chance to, and Drinkwater. There you go. So anyway, it was 4 tries to Gold Coast. They really tried hard at the end there, but they couldn't get the job done. And the handling was fantastic for those conditions. It just really poured down at the end of the match. Let's have a look at the team stats. Okay, first we'll look at the player stats, and the top tackler there, Sam Verrills. He had an outstanding game. He's always the top defender there. Reece Robson also for the Cowboys, fantastic player. I'd have him always out of dummy half there. He is a great player and a mad asset for New South Wales. Philip Sami, most run meters, 234 over Murray Talangi there, 156 for the North Queensland Cowboys. Most line breaks, Jojo Fafita 1, and Scott Drinkwater 2. Geez, he's really elusive sometimes, Drinkwater. Okay, let's have a quick look here at important stats. Now, time, possession and completions, 53% completion to, this is awful for both sides, but it was those conditions. 53% to Gold Coast, 47% to the Cowboys. Time in possession, 28 minutes for the Titans and only 25 for the Cowboys, but they did a lot more with it. 76% completion rate there for the Cowboys, 80%, a little bit better for the Titans there. All runs meters, fairly even, another 70 or 80 for the Titans. Post contact meters, 494, a lot more penetrable there for the Titans, over 327 there for post contact meters for the Cowboys. Tackle breaks, 29. Phenomenal for Gold Coast. They nearly should have won the match on these stats. And 30 for only 20, sorry, for the Cowboys. Average set distance, 33 metres to the Cowboys, 36 metres to the Titans. Kick return metres, about 20 more there to the Cowboys. Going down to the passing, that's interesting. They really passed it around there. The Titans 12 passes to 6. The receipts were fairly even as well, but a lot more to the Titans. Total passes 254. Titans over 196 for the Cowboys. Dummy passes 3-0 to the Cowboys. Kicking 22 to 20, fairly even. Same with the kicking meters. Let's have a look here at the defence. 92% effective tackles for the Titans, 89%, so fairly even there for the Cowboys. Errors, 15 errors in negative play for the Cowboys. On these stats, if you didn't watch the game like I did, you would have thought that the Titans, it was only 6 points in at the end, but you would have thought Titans would win this match. 10 errors to only 10, 5 less to the Titans there. Penalties conceded, though, a lot more for the Cowboys there. And that's about it. 2 players on the report for Titans. They did play their hearts out. Ruck infringements a lot more to the Cowboys. But overall, they were the better side, the Cowboys, I felt, and deserved that win. Okay, let's go to the ladder and let's have a quick look at the ladder here. And it's Raiders up on top with 28 points on a good for and against there over the Bulldogs, who are on 28 points. But the thing is, I think they've got quite a few buys left, the Raiders, so that will really help them in the back half of this competition, which we're heading towards now. So Storm here, don't forget the girls start the NRLW. We'll try and do a preview on the Thursday. And I would imagine, I haven't had a look at the draw yet, we could do that off air. And I think there will be shorter games again this round. Otherwise, the women wouldn't be able to have that celebratory opening to their, 6-week competition they have with the 12 sides. And Warriors and Bulldogs are the brand new inceptions in the NRLW. I was listening to a couple of interviews on the radio, on ABC radio, to the girls, and they're very excited about their competition kicking off this coming Thursday. So in third position is Storm, only 2 points behind the 2 leaders there in Raiders and Bulldogs on 26. Warriors 24. Will they keep slipping is another question, because now they're only 4 points in front of the Broncos. So you've got that top 4 division, and then 4 points separating Warriors with all those injuries and vital injuries, and then Broncos in fifth position there on 20. Just under them is Roosters. Surprise, 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 surprise. And they're on 20 points as well, but they've only played 14 times. So Roosters would be in front of with the buys. It really throws everything out. So you take it with a grain of salt. You move on to seventh there, Panthers, and they're moving up. That arrow's looking up. They're only 1 point behind the Roosters. So they're virtually running seventh. So they're in the top eight, but they're really only 5 points away from fourth place. So that's their task there. I'd like to see a side really run right over them just to bring them down to earth, because the momentum they're gaining is frightening for every team that's in this competition again. Do you really want them to win 5 in a row? I know you Penrith fans will get crappy with me saying this, but I couldn't stand another boring ass grand final where it's just all about defence. We want to see a bit of action this time. But I blame Melbourne as well. It wasn't just all Panthers, but that strangulation defence that Panthers do, it's not a pretty sight, especially when you're having anytime try scorers as your main ethos of betting here, and betting responsibly. Seagulls just behind the Dolphins there. The Dolphins are in eighth position. They are 1 point on 18 points behind Panthers. Then you have Seagulls on 18 points, but are a worse for and against from the Dolphins. In 10th position, Sharks, with the arrow going down after the last 2 weeks, on 18 points also. Also on 18 points in 11th position is Dragons. So that's really compressed underneath the Panthers for those next 5 sides. And Cowboys are then 1 point underneath the Dragons in 12th. Then you have Knights, who are finished for the season. They'll be trying not to get the wooden spoon for mine, but I think they'll be just out of that echelon there of that third division. So I really hope and pray for them, but you can't lose those vital players and expect to do any good. It's nothing like a champion racehorse, running with 3 horseshoes on. You just can't expect them to win. Knights on 14, so they're 3 behind Cowboys now. And then this last division, the wooden spoon division for mine, for West Tigers, Eels, Rabbitohs and Titans, all 2 points apart from the Knights on 14 down to last place, Titans on 12, Rabbitohs on 14, Eels on 14, Tigers on 14. Write your own ticket for those guys. And just having a look here at the draw for this coming week. So on the Friday, because the girls are on the Thursday, just have a quick look at the girls' game here. Telstra Women's Premiership. And there it is there. So on Thursday at 7:45, it's Tiana Penatoni and her Sharks, who nearly should have beaten East in that grand final last year. There was a technical glitch that really went against them. A lot of people say that Olivia Koenig's side should have won, but there was nothing in that game, not at half time. But anyway, it's Sharks versus Parramatta. So that's going to be a pretty solid match there on Thursday. And on the Friday, you have Bulldogs, the first time debutant Bulldogs against the Knights. Then the Saturday, you have Broncos against Tigers. And it looks like that's Canberra and versus Dragons. Cowboys versus Titans, and it's Roosters versus Warriors. That's for the ladies. We'll just have a quick look at this semi-split round and shortened round for the Telstra Premiership. So that's that can't be right, can it? Yes, it is. It's Bulldogs versus this is going to be an incredible match. At 8 o'clock, Bulldogs versus Broncos. And then that's the Friday match because the girls start on the Thursday. And then Saturday, you got Canberra versus St George, Cowboys versus Storm. On the Sunday, you have Roosters versus Tigers, Seagulls versus Rabbits, and the teams with a bye 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Dolphins, Warriors, Eels, Sharks, Panthers, Titans, and Knights. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. And as far as the hamstrings are concerned, I believe it's because if they're not overtraining, they may be overstretching. The game's getting faster. I think the last 2, 3, maybe even 4 years after the dreaded COVID, or basically the resetting of the world for the elites. Let's just say that the game is getting faster and faster. The six again, and it's putting so much pressure on these players on their fitness, and the quality of the game is smashing these players, and all those players that are on those injury lists that we said, hopefully have speedy recoveries. It's something that the medical staff, the doctors, the medical scientists need to have a look at. Sports scientists, they need to have a look at why so many hamstrings are being a massive and a major setback this year in the NRL. But that's my theory. The speed, the strength, and the game's getting harder. All right, until next time, until next week. Later on in this week, should I say, we may see you on Thursday. If not, we'll see you bright and early on Friday. We may just give our tips for the NRLW and watch the game and see how the girls go. But best of luck to Tiana Penatoni and the Cronulla Sharks. I'm Axel Phillips. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you got something out of the program. You found out with the statistics and all the money we got back from the TAB, betting responsibly. You found out where your team lost or won a game from those helpful stats. Until next time, I'm Axel Phillips from Every Point's a Winner. Like, subscribe, click the bell, and get all the information, posts, videos, and we'll be having that fantastic State of Origin call. Please join us that night. We need all the support we can get here. We're doing it for nothing. We're doing it for the love of the game, for the love of the game NRL. Until next time, bye from Max Phillips.